Hello everyone. We've all been in a situation where we're just going about our day. Maybe we're walking through a crowded street or sitting on a subway when suddenly someone approaches us asking for money. In that moment, you might feel a pang of guilt or confusion. You start reaching for your wallet, but then you wonder, where will this money actually go? Am I helping someone in need, or am I unknowingly supporting a scam? It's these doubts that make many of us hesitate when it comes to giving. And in many cases, that hesitation is well placed. Today, we're diving into a world most of us only glimpse briefly as we pass by the world of street scammers. The disabled impersonators. One of the most common and effective scams is pretending to be disabled. These individuals often have elaborate stories. Some claim war injuries, others say they were victims of tragic accidents. They'll limply drag themselves along the streets, sometimes exposing wounds, all in the hopes of gaining sympathy and, ultimately, your money. However, here's the kicker. Many of them are completely healthy. There have been several instances where people have uncovered scammers pretending to be crippled only to discover later that they were perfectly capable of walking, running, or even standing up. For example, a beggar in China was caught faking an amputation by hiding his legs beneath his clothes. And in another case, a paralyzed beggar on a wooden skateboard was seen standing up and walking away after his work was done. It's heartbreaking because true cases of disability often go unnoticed while scammers manipulate our kindness. The single mother trick. Now, here's one that really tugs at your heartstrings: the young, single mother with a child in tow. She's usually distraught, asking for help to feed her baby or pay for an urgent need. Naturally, we all feel sympathy for single mothers. After all, it's a difficult life. But many of these women are actually scammers. Their baby could be a doll, and the large pregnant belly they display might be a prosthetic. What's even worse is when these so-called mothers drive away in luxury cars like a Mercedes-Benz, exposing the deception. One woman in San Diego was discovered after a local found out that the poor mother and her son were only a part of a scam, and they were driving a high-end car after begging for money. The mentally ill actor. In some cases, scammers impersonate people with mental health problems. These individuals may use erratic behavior to make passers-by uncomfortable and more willing to hand over some cash. One particularly famous con artist, Gary Thompson, was able to convince people for years that he was mentally disabled despite having a clear speech and communication skills. He had no problem lying and tricking people because his acting was so convincing. Gary, who had been injured in a motorcycle accident, used his tragic backstory to make people pity him, when in fact his brain had not been affected. After years of scamming, it turned out that he was making a pretty hefty income from his disability. The homeless on the street. Another familiar sight is the homeless person sitting on the street begging for help. Sometimes they might start cleaning your car windshield or give some reason why you should help. But some are part of larger, organized scams. For instance, one person was caught pretending to have an epileptic seizure right in the middle of the road, only to get up once no one was paying attention. These street performers often take advantage of busy times during rush hour, for example when people feel pressured to give in quickly. The real question is, how far are you willing to go to help, and how can you be sure you're making a real difference? The robbed and stranded beggar. Another common scam involves individuals claiming they've been robbed and need money for a return ticket. You'll often see them in train stations or on public transport. Their story seems plausible. They've lost their wallet, they're from out of town, and they just need help getting home. But if you think about it, why wouldn't they have a phone or a way to contact someone else? And if this situation were real, why not go to the authorities or a consulate instead of begging strangers? In some cases, it's discovered that these so-called victims are actually part of a ring, carefully rehearsing their act to trick unsuspecting passengers. Sick children and fake charities. One of the most manipulative scams involves sick children. This is especially common on social media, where fake parents or volunteers post stories about children suffering from rare diseases. They present fake medical records and beg for donations for costly treatments. But be warned, only a small fraction of these appeals are real. Often, it's not about helping a sick child, it's about exploiting a tragedy for financial gain. Don't be fooled by sob stories online. Always verify the charity before you donate. Beggars with animals. Finally, let's talk about beggars who use animals to elicit sympathy. They may show a sad puppy or a sick dog next to them, begging for food or shelter money. The problem is that many of these animals are actually drugged to stay calm, just like some scammers drug their babies to keep them quiet. Worse still, some of these animals are mistreated and forced into these scams. If you suspect that a beggar is exploiting an animal, it's important to report them rather than give them money.